So first up is someone who I met originally in the middle of the redwood forests for some reason a number of years ago, and that is Ruthe Farmer. You might have heard her on NPR this morning. Ruthe is with the Last Mile Education Fund, which disrupts the traditional scholarship model by awarding nearly 3,000 grants totaling $2.9 million to support degree completion for low-income, underrepresented students aimed at careers in tech. Ruthe Farmer.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I think I actually have a live mic, right? So I can walk. Great. Okay. So good morning. I'm Ruthe Farmer. I'm the founder and the CEO of Last Mile Education Fund. Thank you for being here. And actually, I was on Marketplace Tech on NPR. I literally just got the link seconds ago, so I will be sharing that soon. So we all know that all the fastest growing and highest paying jobs are in STEM, right? That's why we're all here, why we're doing this work. There's $148 billion annually up for grabs for those who have STEM degrees and qualifications. That's great news. We also know that students who earn one of those degrees are going to earn $275 a year more on average than if they have some college and no degree. So finishing that degree is critical. And in terms of building wealth, getting people out of poverty, STEM is one of the best ways you can go. That's all great news. The bad news, 11% of students from the bottom income quartile will finish their degree in 6 years. If you go out to 8 years, it's 14%. That's still 86% failure rate. If you bump it up to the bottom 2 income quartiles of students, it's 20%. 80% of low-income students do not finish college in 6 or even 8 years. So we're doing all this amazing work to get them there, but the college system is not equipped for them to succeed. Most scholarships are exclusionary. They're designed to find outliers and celebrate people who have prior success, awards, recognitions that they've achieved. The wealthiest students actually get 34% more private financial aid than the poorest, on average. $11,300 for the wealthiest kids in the country per year, and $7,500 for the poorest. Federal financial aid and a part-time job will not cover the cost of college anymore. In order for your family to qualify for the full Pell Grant, which is $6,245 a year, your family income can't exceed $23,000. So the days of, I worked and put myself through college are kind of gone. And last year in 2020, 3 out of 5 college students reported food, housing, and transportation basic needs insecurity. So I think it's time we realize that the talent pipeline is changing, that more and more of our students coming into college are coming from low-income backgrounds, and that our college system wasn't built for them. It was built for the children of affluent people. 53.3% of students who are in their last 4 semesters of a degree in tech and engineering have a family income under $51,000 a year. So what if we invested in this talent pipeline? In closing this gap, what if we saw those 80% of students as low-hanging fruit and an opportunity for investment? So we launched the Last Mile Education Fund in 2020 to address this gap. And we give money quickly with an abundance viewpoint. We take an abundance viewpoint to who qualifies, and we give you money sometimes as quickly as 48 hours. Because if you're gonna drop out because your car broke down, you cannot wait 6 months for a scholarship to get back to you. We leverage the ecosystem. There's an entire ecosystem of DEI and tech organizations, ColorStack, NSBE, SHIP. We don't replace what they do, but when we get a student in our hands, we're gonna turn them over and say, join this group, they're gonna help you, they're gonna give you the community and the support you need. And ultimately our goal is to take all the data we're getting from the students we're funding and turn it back to the institutions, turn it back to the policymakers to change the system, to feed those insights back into the system and get to where we're actually resourcing the students we actually have, not the students we used to have. So I'll give you some examples. So Ryan is actually our co-founder. She was the inspiration for this fund. In 2017, she was going to cancel an internship at a major bank that was going to pay her $35 an hour because she could not afford a bus ticket from Mississippi to North Carolina or a place to live until she got paid. Sarah, her professor, and I rallied I used 10,000 air miles, flew her to that internship, found her a place to stay. Today, she was just promoted to VP. She just had a baby. She's getting her master's at Virginia Tech. She is out of poverty forever, and that was maybe $2,000 of intervention at the right time. So on the left is Carol Ann. We found Carol Ann in 2020 during the pandemic when we were giving out emergency grants as fast as we could. She had started at a community college, and she told me she went to an event for the food, and they were playing with Arduinos, and she got excited about computing and decided to major in computer science. She's exactly what we want, a Latina with an innate interest in computing. She never did an internship because she didn't know internships were paid. So here she was graduating from University of Houston, needing to launch, and she'd never done an internship because she was heads down on survival, working full-time in a tech support job to pay her bills, and after she graduated, she went right back to that $30,000 a year tech support job. Fortunately, she is now, thanks to Priscilla, who's in the middle, at a major bank, making $95,000 a year, which is more than anyone in her family has ever earned. And then, finally, just 6 months from graduation, JB was going, this was February of 2020, car repair sent her just spiraling to where she was struggling to stay in her housing, eating at a food bank. This woman was a senior at Spelman College, a Black woman in computer science, interviewing at places like Microsoft and Twitter and getting her food at a food bank. And she initially asked us for $3,000, and I was like, that's not enough. Tell me what you need. We got her to graduation. She graduated, she started a major tech company in August, and in October she came back and said, it's the month of giving, and of course you're my first choice. She was our first alumni donor. So this is what we've done so far. Actually, it's now closer to 3,800 grants, almost $4 million we've invested in students. This is what our racial and ethnicity data looks like. 35% of our grantees are Black or African American, 23% Hispanic, 55% women or non-binary. And so I just want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. One, what is it going to take to realize the gain on all the investments that you're making right now in getting students into the pipeline to make sure that they actually get out and into the workforce? We need to close that gap. And whether that's additional investment, we've calculated that it takes $477,000 to get a student from birth to a junior year in college in a STEM field. What is another $5,000 or $10,000 to get them to the finish line? And that is it. I guess I'm off the...
And before Ruthe leaves the stage, Sadie and Krista are in the room with microphones. If you have any questions for Ruthe, I know it's Wednesday morning and Tuesday nights are rough. All right, Ruthe, while we're looking, here's my question. So you know about the STEM ecosystems, you know about the folks that are in this room. What can they be doing right now to support this work and to support the type of stories that you're trying to tell?
Awful photo off of here, please. That is terrible. Okay, so the first thing we could ask of you is any students you have in your networks that are potentially struggling, please send them our way. I literally have millions of dollars to give to them. And we want to give it to them. We want them to succeed. And we will give the student more than one grant. And one thing I didn't say that I wanted to say, we don't even ask for their GPA. C's get degrees. If you have made it to your junior year in STEM in this country, we need you to graduate because the workforce loses, society loses, and the worst possible outcome is someone having 2 years of college debt and no degree. That is the worst outcome for all of us. I think we have a question.
So, what do I do as a student to help out my peers with just having issues?
That is a really great question. I'm glad to get it from a young person. One thing people don't understand often is that people might opt out of opportunities because they know they can't afford it. So they just don't apply. So don't assume that everybody can pay that $50 sign-up fee or get reimbursed for a bus ticket to somewhere. One of the things that I'm really encouraging organizations to think about is if you're offering students a scholarship to participate in an opportunity, do not do that on a reimbursement basis. Just take the risk on yourself, give them a prepaid Visa card, whatever you have to do to eliminate that barrier. But for you, if you see people opting out of things, say, let's do this other thing that's cheap or free, or go to an adult and talk to them and say, I think this student might be opting out because of money.
Yes, I was just wondering, I'm Deb Wilson from the Ozarks ecosystem. What is this geographical, or is it statewide? Is it international? Who's up?
We're institutionally agnostic for the entire United States. We do fund international students, DACA students, as well as domestic students. So if you are in a high demand STEM major in the US, thanks to Google, I recently expanded from funding only women and non-binary students to also funding men of color. Ultimately, I believe that all low-income students are underrepresented in STEM, and that we need to have the funding to support all of them over the finish line, because we're spending so much money on STEMspiration programs to get kids into the pipeline, but literally, if they're not going to finish, what is the point? So we've got to close that gap. So as you go out into the world and you're talking to your funding partners, this is a really easy, low-cost thing, and I will just give you one example. We now have a fund with the city of Detroit. So the Detroit community is like, we want our students to graduate. So we're funding students specifically in Detroit for their last mile. So this is something you could do on a regional basis with your local funding partners.
Hi there, my name is Sarah Riley. I'm the Chief Science Officer from Tucson, Arizona. My family actually grew up quite poor. My dad was living in a trailer park, but through some help, he is now Deputy Commandant of National Guard here and in Arizona. But I was curious, what inspired you to do this work?
So I have been working in diversity in STEM since I started with the Girl Scouts in 2001. And I've built lots and lots of programs, Aspirations in Computing, Tecnolo Chicas, like all different programs to get more young people into STEM. And because of the powers of social media, I have these connections with them on Facebook and Instagram and Slack and LinkedIn, so I'm paying attention to them in their lives. And it was literally because I saw Ryan opting out of something that she had earned. And if you don't go to that internship your junior year before your senior year, that's a job interview. They're interviewing you for a job. And her life could have been totally derailed or be completely different if she hadn't taken that opportunity. And I saw that happening over and over with lots of students. And I was using my own social networks and social capital to solve it sometimes. But like, you shouldn't have to be lucky enough to personally know me or someone else who's going to intervene for you. There should be a system that makes sure that students like this don't fall through the cracks. And that's what we're here for. Please tell every student you have. I have millions of dollars to give community college students in cybersecurity. Should you know any community colleges, if you're a community college, please. I literally have like $5 million to distribute to community college students. Thank you.
And I think we have time for one more. I saw one fervent hand back there. Right there. There it is. There it is. We can do one more quick question. While she's walking back there, I'm just excited. I've been preaching the gospel of Ruthe Farmer for like a decade, and I'm very happy that you all get to hear her now. Girl Scouts, the White House, CS for All. That's all, Ruthe.
I'm just fervently going to follow her for the money for the community colleges. So I'm gonna come see. That's all.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruthe Farmer. Next up, please welcome to the stage Shireen Hafiz from Deaf Kids Code. Deaf Kids Code's vision is to bridge the severe economic and social gaps that exist among the deaf and hard of hearing through the cultivation of computing and technology skills. Shireen?
I thought I was going second.
Do we just push this green arrow?
Should. Can we get Shireen's slides up?
Okay, we can do that. And then how do we turn the slides on?
This does not count against your time.
I hope not, because it's already torture being limited to 7 minutes. It's like there's so much to tell. Where do you begin? Here we go. Okay, Deaf Kids Code. So there's no point telling you about that until I tell you about me. So I am the mother of a son who was born deaf. So that is the catalyst for everything. And just like any parent whose child is, born with a diagnosis, you start Googling, and Googling shows you nothing but disparity and negative outcomes. And, and similar to what Ruthe was mentioning, is that the disparity and the lack of opportunity, the under-resourced, it goes on and on. Low literacy, low employment, all of it is what Google tells you. So I knew from the moment that my son was diagnosed that we were going to have to draw our swords, and we were going to have to be rebellious as hell if he had a chance to survive and thrive in this world. So became very involved with advocacy in the grassroots level, working with local organizations and, sitting in IEP meetings on behalf of other parents and families with disabilities, and teaching my own son to draw his own sword, that every year at the beginning of elementary school, he had to present to the class why he's using this technology, that what looks like silly putty in his ears were actually molds for his hearing aids. And it didn't stop there. So at that time, insurance companies could reject you for hearing aids. And we had to start a lobbying coalition to fight against that. And we launched a crusade, in our state to get insurance companies to cover hearing aids for babies and children. My son went so far as to write his own speeches. This kid with language deprivation, and he wasn't even in junior high, was testifying in front of the Senate committee, fighting for what should be a simple right. This is one of the many, many pitfalls and examples of why our population is disenfranchised. We were successful. We were able to implement a state-funded program, and and all of this is before he's in junior high. Imagine that. And this was not to get something nice on a college application. This was out of survival. So when we look at all of the complexities and all of the difficulties that you face, then we really don't have to question too deeply on why the disparity exists. How do we break the school to couch paradigm? How do we engage? And of course, we all know, that's why we're here, the digital age is the great equalizer. There is no other vehicle that can allow an individual from anywhere, in any corner of the earth, regardless of language or lack of language, has the ability to contribute to society. No greater disability than a person believing they can't. And society, from the moment of diagnosis, is saying that you can't. And the way we measure ability. So I started Deaf Kids Code. What was supposed to be very local, simple, grassroots, nonprofit organization, scaled through word of mouth to a national level. Through word of mouth, we never solicited our programs. That is because of how under-resourced and disenfranchised these communities are, that the word spread through word of mouth, not through advertising. And all of our programming is free. We never charge any school, any institution to bring a Deaf Kids Code program into their area. And we have done a lot. Over 12,000 plus participants, over 50 plus locations nationally and with pockets around the world: Indonesia, China, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Guatemala, Panama. Everybody is thirsty. Everybody is looking at us as the thought leaders in this space. We have hosted makers STEM fairs. This is one of our students that has been in and out of foster care her whole life. We've had her in our program since 7th grade, and she went on and participated in a P&G internship program, and here she is on the stage for this multinational company on her design reviews, talking about the importance of accessibility, even going so far as to making recommendations that they are now implementing. So imagine that. You're deaf, you're low socioeconomic, you're female, and you have been in and out of foster care, and here you are telling a multinational company to step it up. It's extraordinary, and now she wants to be a UX/UI designer, which she had no idea what that even was. So, you know, our programming is hands-on, interactive, learning, immersive experiences. We don't just teach, you know, we're the segue, we're the entry point. Our kids have had no experience in any of this. So they do coding, but they also are very rooted in the design thinking process. Innovation is the key to what we do, because we want to implant that. We launched a hackathon with Google in Chicago, and our kids at the Chicago Deaf Hard of Hearing program with the Park District participated in that side by side with technologists, with software engineers, with local businesses, and ended up going toe to toe. And you never saw a hackathon like that, where the disability community is working with technologists side by side, building out solutions. And our students won. How about that? Amazing. The underdog. There is no lost cause. The lost cause is all that's worth fighting for, right? So one of our kids, you know, she's a freshman at a mainstream high school, the only deaf kid. She's doing computer science AP, and she told me that it's very easy for her. How about that? This is Jabril, another student that we've had in our pipeline for many years. And, you know, we had a, I don't know where the slides are. Sorry about that. I don't know what to say. Well, anyways, he was part of a developers collective where our students were building websites for local small businesses that couldn't afford a web developer. And this is Jabril and Hamza, who are now freshmen at the National Technical Institute for the Deaf and Rochester Institute of Technology, studying technology, and they're presenting the websites to the businesses. So, you know, our schools that we work with have had no exposure to this type of thing. And as an impact, you know, we have schools that have started robotics clubs, coding clubs, hour of code, maker spaces, and we've broadened their horizons with how they think. Ah!
Shireen, that was absolutely incredible. Could you stick around for just a second? What questions do you have for Shireen and this really incredible initiative? I know, so while we're looking for the audience, the general audience questions, I'm curious what the biggest solution is to allowing young people with hearing disabilities to access coding content and gain those skills. What technologies are being used to make that happen?
Well, if I had 2 more minutes for my pitch, you would have seen that, you know, we worked with the Scratch Foundation and we created an ASL Getting Started with Scratch tutorial with some of our students explaining, you know, how this technology works and how they can use it to create things. We launched a similar tutorial with Make Code for their arcade, a similar embedded like ASL tutorial, you know, and we, you know, it's really about being part of the ecosystem. So, you know, we need people that are already doing this work to partner with our schools, with our programs, you know, so they can elevate their offerings to our students.
And then Krista?
All right, awesome. For us that already have coding programs in place, what's the first step we can take to be truly inclusive?
Truly inclusive is, I think, number one, having a level of consciousness that this community even exists. I think that this is part of the problem. You know, I've been in this conference for the last 3 days. There's been very, very little discussion when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think very few people have even mentioned, you know, students with disabilities, which, you know, by the way, 30% of the US population has some type of disability, seen or not seen. And I think that if you're not consciously trying to make that effort, you know, and because, you know, language is about inclusivity, and, you know, and talking the talk and, you know, walking the walk are 2 very different things. So, you know, so if you have a coding club in your school, maybe you should look around in your community, see what other programs exist, and how can you participate and help them be engaged with what you have, because there's a good chance that your school is higher resourced than a deaf school.
Another question.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm from Idaho. We have a school in Idaho that's for the deaf and blind, but I also know that we have a lot of students that are not at that school, cannot access that school. And so are there ways for them to get involved in your program or similar programs if they're kind of the lone student in their city dealing with this issue?
Well, the good thing that came out of COVID was that we did increase our, our virtual programming. And actually, it's very interesting because it was actually at the peak of COVID where we actually had our highest amount of students that got to participate. And what we did was we created these STEM kits. I turned my basement into a little mini factory, and we were dispatching thousands of STEM kits to, classrooms as well as to like kids at home. And we would conduct these live like maker space micro experiences for them, as well as like other, programs. But that's the only way to capture that, right? And it also builds community too, because majority of our students that are deaf or hard of hearing are in mainstream schools. They're not in, actually, it's like 13 to 15% of deaf, hard of hearing students are in actual specialized programs. So there's a very good chance that they exist within a mainstream setting.
Hi. How have you had Mexican deaf students into the program, and how can you get more?
How have we had Mexican students? Beautiful story. See, I wish I had an hour presentation. It was such torture deciding out of the thousands of video footages and all of this, which story to tell, because there are so many stories. So we did programming in San Miguel in Mexico, which actually was a school founded by Americans, by the way. And they reached out to us, and we had a team that actually just came back. And immediately after that, they told us that they did a fundraiser to raise funds for the equipment to embed the curriculum within their programs. So we have facilitators, and one of our lead facilitators is actually Mexican American, and actually came here as a young child. And so having role models is super essential, but also like the trilingualism of it, being fluent in Spanish, being fluent in Mexican Sign Language, being fluent in English and American Sign Language.
Okay, question over here. Hi, my name is Mariana. I'm Chief Science Officer from Bogota, Colombia. I have a question for you. Maybe you think like to expand the project to other places and to other countries, like to benefit other people?
Can you rephrase that? Sorry.
Are you going to move the program outside of the U.S. to other countries?
Oh, yes. So we have a group in Guatemala that we worked with, and we have a group in Panama that we have worked with. Yes, and we have sent equipment to them. We have done all kinds of like really cool things. Haven't had any groups from Colombia reach out to us, but we try to be very particular about having zero barrier to access. So we try to be conscious of using as much open source content as we can, so that there's, the burden of cost will not be there for their barrier to entry and exposure. But yeah, if you know people and you want us to bring that connection to a community, there, we're happy to do it.
Thank you, Shireen Hafiz. That was really, truly incredible and inspiring. Make sure you grab Shireen out in the hallway if you want to learn more, talk more. Up next, Alex Uria. Join us in engaging students in creating innovative solutions to local challenges with STEM-based approaches. Take STEM from the textbooks to Main Street by engaging local students in community-based problem solving. Alex?
All right, can you hear me? Good. So, Rethink Earth, just find the right. There's only a couple of things to know about us. This is John Henry, by the way. This is my mission statement in life. Unlock human potential through the power of education. 2 more things to know. That date, I walked in and out of my 3,000 school, doing what I do. Last number, we've delivered professional learning to over 1 million teachers in 48 states. So here's the issue. We tell kids to think outside the box. The problem is that a box has 4 corners, okay? And nobody puts my daughters in a corner, okay, first of all. So we tell them to design outside the box. But we have boxes of stuff, right? There's things in them. And then we have these things that we tell kids to buy accessories for, okay? So is this exciting? Mom and Dad, guess what I did today? I attached something to a robot. That doesn't sound very exciting, does it? How about I built something? I designed something. That's more exciting. That is design. That was my peanut many years ago. She just started her first year at college. It's very sad. She asked me, Daddy, why do people say think outside the box? Why do my teachers say that? Why do I hear it on TV? What does think outside the box really mean? She said to me, why can't we build our own box? So that inspired me years ago to rethink how we look at education, rethink how we look at design. Because in order to really build something, you got to break some stuff, right? You got to break stuff. That's what you have to do. And this guy, no pun intended to the last mile, this guy was the king of the last mile. When IDEO brought the mouse to him, it had a little metal ball. He said, this is too noisy, wrap it in rubber. Okay? He was the king of the last mile. He didn't invent everything at Apple, but he was so good at that last mile, at a solution. And we ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? We've been asking the wrong question. A few years ago, I said, we have to ask them, what problem do you want to solve when you grow up? But last year, I realized that was the wrong question. We need to ask them, what solutions do you want to design? That's the question we need to ask. Because we're not just preparing kids for careers that don't exist yet. You have heard that. We are preparing kids for careers that have expired. That's the bigger challenge. So how do you prepare kids for things you don't know will exist when they get into the workforce? Well, you equip them with a toolbox, and you send them on their way and say, I have a toolbox, and I am ready to solve. That's what you could do. Because they may not know what they want to be, they may not know where they're going yet, they want to be able to solve. So we form Rethink Earth. It's an open-ended design challenge. It is not a competition where you get pre-designed kits and boxes. This is open-ended. And it was built on the vision of John Henry, who started a program called Steam Tank in New Jersey, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Students in Rethink Earth will work on teams. They will identify a problem they want to solve, whether it's an SDG or something in their community that they want to solve. These students designed an expandable shoe. They went to Skechers and said, can you help us with this? And Skechers helped them prototype it. That was their idea, to create an expandable shoe, because parents in poor areas were continually buying shoes. It's expensive. People want to keep up. Other kids did interesting things. A team of 9th graders designed a retractable wheelchair ramp out of recyclable materials. A team of 5th grade girls created an organic tampon that is being patented. This wasn't pre-designed in a box. This was a problem they wanted to solve. So Rethink Earth, how can it benefit ecosystems? Well, we'll have coaches and mentors from industry that coach teams that are designing solutions for specific problems in their community. So you're connecting workforce with industry, with students, and teaching them how to truly design, how to truly ideate, not just follow instructions. That's not any fun. The STEM ecosystems can benefit from this, and other associations and organizations, by bringing teams together, by being hubs for Rethink Earth, by connecting the community, and also benefiting from resources that have been created. An operations manual that guides you through the process of forming a team, how to build sponsorships, how to connect to mentors and coaches in industry, how to connect to communities that need help, that need design, how to inspire people who need to upskill and reskill through the vision of children and what they want to design. So Rethink Earth is not the type of design competition that requires boxes of stuff. It requires imagination. It requires a passion to solve a problem. It requires a student's creativity to be inspired to work in teams. I am blessed. My son is at Tesla right now. He leads the interior lighting team for the Cybertruck. He's all of 23. I learned something from him. At Tesla, they have what they call these little maker spaces. So you walk in there, he said, it's not even as good as my high school space, but it's clay and cardboard and tape. Before they take their prototype to a $2 million 3D printer, they have to figure it out first. They have to ideate. They have to break stuff. They're not opening up a box of stuff and figuring out how to build something. They are building from scratch, and they're redesigning. SpaceX, do you think they're going to be worth more than Tesla because they're going to get somebody to Mars? No. They're going to be worth more because in the process of getting somebody to Mars, they have generated hundreds of patents that are being licensed by other corporations because it takes a lot of stuff to invent to get somebody to get to Mars. So along the way, the process of discovery, that journey is so much more important, as they say, than the destination. But it starts by designing solutions, by getting kids to do student-inspired projects. And that's what Rethink Earth is about, is to drive student inspiration in design, in solving problems, and in connecting with industry experts who they themselves may be inspired.
Just before the timer. While we're looking for other questions, John, I know that some of this work Alex mentioned was based on Steam Tank. Can you tell us kind of quickly about what that genesis was like?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you. And good morning, everyone. It's nice to see everybody out there. So I thought I was just up here looking good, but it's, no. So Steam Tank was started in 2015 and in a partnership with the U.S. Army, because the U.S. Army was looking to support education, but they didn't know how to get into schools. And at that time, currently, I was working with New Jersey School Boards Association. It was a unique partnership. So I had a lot of, my background, by the way, is 30 years in education, 14 years in the classroom. I spent 2 years at NASA headquarters as a fellow. So I have a little bit of background in STEM and STEAM and sustainability. That's what I primarily did. And that's what I was hired to do at School Boards Association. So the partnership began, and we created Steam Tank. It was a design challenge. It was an open-ended, giving student ultimate maximum voice and choice. And it started out with 32 teams. Now it's running 600 teams put in for applications where they were overwhelmed in New Jersey right now with the amount of students. But it was a seriously open-ended, and what we found that because we gave them complete control to pick what they felt strongly about, that motivated the students. I always say if you engage the student, the achievement will follow, and that's exactly what Steam Tank in New Jersey did. So Rethink Earth is really going to be like that on steroids. It's like a 3.0, way beyond that. But it was highly successful. It's still going on in New Jersey right now. I retired, by the way, in October, so I'm no longer directing the program.
Excellent. Krista, I know you have a question back there.
Can you guys please put up the website and information so we can take a look? When you Google Rethink Earth, other stuff comes up, so we want to be able to get involved. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't have we'll put that up. Yeah, we'll put the information up on the slide back there, but if not, I'm here until Tuesday, so I have cards at the table, so.
We'll make sure to share the information in the follow-up emails as well. So it might pop up there, but if it doesn't, it will go out to you. We promise. We want you to get involved in this for all of the pitchers. Any of the information that you heard today from any of the pitchers, and we'll hear from our final pitcher here in a moment, we'll make sure is in the follow-up email so we can continue to make those connections.
Another question.
One final question. Yep.
Hello, my name is Jasmine, and I'm the Chief Science Officer representing Metro Atlanta, Georgia. So my question is, who is this, for Rethink Earth, who is this program designed for? Like I saw you said it go as low as fifth grade. So as someone who's really interested, where is this, like locally, or I'm sorry, is it nationally, like state? How do we join? Like, who is this for?
I thought I heard all of it, but it's for K-12. It's open to any school, public, private, I think that was,
If a young person in particular, but an adult too, really wants to get involved, and maybe they don't have an infrastructure organization behind them, how can they get involved? So if the CSO would like to participate, but it's not kind of a school program or initiative, how can they get involved?
the way that it'll work is we're going to design a portal, and that portal will be where you could register and submit. The way it works is you submit a 2-minute video of your concept or idea or engineering project or a problem, real-world problem you want to solve. And then it's prejudged, and then they can go through the additional steps in. There'll be some regional finals, regionals and then finals competition, things like that.
To get started, you can email John or I, and we'll walk you through that. Bogota, Colombia, CSO, please talk to me. I'd love to have a Rethink Earth hub in my family's country of origin, okay? Awesome.
Alex, John, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to see the participation from this ecosystem initiative with Rethink Earth. And last but certainly not least, what if 1,000 students from around the world were empowered to gather virtually and join a rich conversation around the most pressing challenges, as well as the most promising opportunities found in STEM education today? That's what the Youth Congress is, and here to talk about that a little bit is CSO alumna Freya Abraham. Freya?
Amazing. Oh, okay, that's a little loud. So glad to see you all. As Jeremy just mentioned, I'm Freya. I'm a CSO alumna, and I'm so excited to share this with you. This is an opportunity for everyone in this room, all ecosystems, all representatives, to implement the strategies and the vision that we've been discussing at this convening. One of the biggest issues in education, if not the biggest, is a lack of student voice in the way decisions are made and in the way information is distributed. We've discussed this. We know this. We cannot have students invested in these decisions around their education, in participating in their education, if they are not involved. We know this. Who better to involve students in STEM than students, than chief science officers? The chief science officers are organizing an international STEM Congress. This is an online, accessible opportunity for 1,000 students across the globe to learn from each other, to learn from their strengths and their resources and their networks in peer-to-peer conversation and through conversation with industry leaders and role models. We need students to interact with each other and elevate each other together. Everyone with me? I don't know. Is everyone with me? Yeah. That's it. Okay. So what I need from all of you ecosystems, I need you to nominate 10 students. This is where we're talking about strategy implementation. We've heard diversity, we've heard equity, we've heard accessibility, but I need you to nominate 6th through 12th graders, 10 of them, who can benefit from this opportunity, who can see new things and bring it back to the community. Can ecosystems do this? It's online, July the 18th. Can we do this? Yes, okay. And if you just thought that I left you out of this, don't worry, I'm coming back. If you are an organization or an institution, if you can show these students who they can become and inspire them to go further, we need you to commit to this International Youth Congress in STEM. Can we do this? Yes, okay. So what I need you to do right now is to pull up your phones. Can I see them? Yes? Okay, I need you to do this for me. And I need you to scan this QR code and sign up with your email. We will be in touch. We will contact you because students are planning these sessions. Students are excited to talk about workforce. They're excited to talk about what AI has to do with their future careers. They're excited to learn from each other how they can be leaders. And they need us to help them pave the way for each other. And listen, I'm not like holding up a sign up right now. After you've done this, could you please turn on your flashlight? We are literally lighting up the way for these students to elevate each other. I want to see the room lit. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Yes, yes, I see the hands up. Yes, we are going to make this an opportunity for students around the globe to share resources. I'm seeing lights go up. You guys are amazing. We are going to make sure that students all across the globe have access to what they need to elevate themselves. Thank you guys so much.
With 3 minutes and 5 seconds to spare, that was incredible. What questions do you have about this incredible opportunity? I've got one while you're thinking. So if individual ecosystems want to have a really strong presence, what might that look like at a regional ecosystem level? How can they help make this happen nationally and virtually?
The first step, did you all get the QR code? Excellent, okay. You've got the QR code. You are in contact with us. CSOs are designing these sessions and we will reach out to you. We need to know your interest and that way we can incorporate you in design. Because you don't just have to send 10 students. We've encountered so many cool ecosystems at this conference that are doing amazing work with non-Western representations of what science looks like, with having role models who are inventing change. We want to see that in sessions, so if you want to have a strong presence in this Congress, sign up for the QR code, we'll be in touch, but also talk to Dr. Babinger, talk to Kelly, talk to a CSO. We would love to get you further involved in the planning of this event. Yes?
Got a question back there with Sadie?
So, I'm CSO. Hello, my name is Ariana, Chief Science Officer from Arizona. So I just want to ask, how can these kids help and get involved in their ecosystems through this?
Through this, okay. So what we understand from a lot of the ecosystems that are in this room is you either have a chief science officer, you're in the process of getting a chief science officer, or you want a chief science officer, is that correct? Yes. When students are involved in this Congress, they're going to take back the resources that Chief Science Officers International has been collecting. They will be equipped with the resources that they need to go back to their networks, and they will also be able to keep in touch with each other. This is not a one-time event on July the 18th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Ooh, wrong pocket. Maybe I put the clicker back. But this is not a one-time scenario. We will be planning follow-up meetings. We will be continuing to work with leaders around the globe so that even though they're youth, they are connected and they are together. So get them to this Congress, guys. We can do this, okay?
Hi. I have a question on the age level. The age level. Is it only high school, or are you also doing middle school youth?
6th through 10th. Chief Science Officer programming is designed for 6th through 12th graders because this is when students are able to go out into their communities from a safe level, and we've just had great success with that model. Sorry, 6th through 12th. Did I say 10th? Yeah, sorry, loves. 6th through 12th, yes.
Hi, my name is Sanjay. I'm a Chief Science Officer from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Hi. So I have a question. What about the students who want to be a part of the International Youth Congress but doesn't have the proper support system to be a part of it? Like they don't have the teachers who are so much as invested or want to commit to the program. What do we do about those?
We are going to find those students. That is the job that we have been assigned 7 minutes ago. If you know a student that could benefit from this Congress, it doesn't have to be part of the 10 that are from an ecosystem. Invite them to sign up, register. We'll be in touch. Thank you all so much.